I noticed when you're asking about Caitlin a lot, you bring up other rookies as well.
No league's ever about one player. That player could get hurt or whatever. So I think it's just to give recognition that in sports, people watch for compelling content and rivalries. And you can't do that alone as one person.
This isn't your typical sports tale. This serves as a warning on how an entire empire can be destroyed before it even has a chance to develop because to conceit, ill-considered leadership, and one unforgivable error.
I've seen a company fumble the bag so hard, like the WNBA fumbled Caitlin Clark. It sucks that so much of it was riddled with so much drama and so much negativity.
The WNBA was in possession of the golden ticket. A celebrity of the generation who wasn't. Not only fantastic on hardwood floors, but also culturally significant. Caitlin Clark was more than just a point-accumulating athlete. She was a phenomenon, a movement, and a brand that, virtually overnight, attracted millions of new fans to women's basketball. This was meant to be the league's climactic moment, their breakthrough, after nearly 3 decades of vying for public notice their approval. However, rather of welcoming her as the hero who may change the course of the sport, they treated her as expendable. They made a huge mistake in the process that could have a lasting impact on the league for decades to come. What started off as a fairy tale has turned into a full-scale conflict. And Caitlin Clark is exacting her retribution with something even more destructive: leverage, rather than yelling into microphones or ranting on social media. She is exposing the WNBA's ineptitude in the boardroom, which is the one setting where it really counts. The sharks are already circling, which is the best part. Even celebrities who are not involved in sports, other leagues, and billionaire investors understand what the WNBA obstinately denies admission. More significant than the league itself is Caitlin Clark. How did it all go apart, then? How did the WNBA mistreat the most captivating athlete in recent memory to the point where her rookie and sophomore seasons were more about betrayal than victory? Stay with me because you will see that this was more than just poor management after you see the numbers, the disrespect, and the offers that are already coming in from outside the league. This was unethical behavior. This was the kind of disastrous error that changes the course of history. Clark's initial foray onto the national scene didn't seem like a normal one arrival of the #1 draft pick. It seemed to mark a shift in culture. Ever after she set fire to defenses while in college, it wasn't simply records that Clark was smashing. She was changing the definition of women's sports in the United States. Every game become an occasion. The ratings soared. Highlights catch on quickly. Children all around the nation were imitating her style by jacking up logo range threes on playgrounds. She was not just a sportswoman. She served as a cultural icon. Her tale had already surpassed reality by the time draft night arrived. The WNBA wasn't the only organization to choose this gifted guard. The league had been anticipating this coronation. A bottle of lightning. A single player has the strength to popularize an entire sport. The effect was felt right away. Tickets for. Within hours, the Indiana Fever games were gone. Overnight, resale values skyrocketed. Because of Caitlin Clark, entire arenas were packed with spectators, many of whom were there for their first ever WNBA game. Her success at the box office was immediate. Broadcasts showing her blowing past anything the league has ever seen followed suit in terms of ratings. The attendance logs were jumbled. Sales of merchandise skyrocketed after years of disinterest in the WNBA. Even casual sports fans were now fixated on Clark's every move. In a matter of months, she had achieved what 20 years of marketing efforts, rebrands, and slogans had not been able to. She brought relevance to the WNBA. It ought to have marked the beginning of a golden period. On the inside, however, what appeared to be a dream soon turned sour. Because the WNBA treated Caitlin Clark with the kind of disdain that will always follow them, despite the fact that she gave the league everything they could have possibly wanted.
We pride ourselves on having a super welcoming,
don't get stoned,
calm, low-stakes environment.
Boston low hoist.
She hit it!
Where communication is highly valued.
Well, it's getting chippy.
Collaboration is always encouraged.
Oh, what a pick!
We are devoted to working extra hard. We've been delivering astounding results since 1997.
Back to back.
Because this is a place where basketball matters.
Beautiful pass and a good catch and finish. Big time.
And if you love
Oh, Enrique.
real
Thomas with the spin move.
basketball,
Unforgettable finish.
Welcome to the W.
Let's discuss the numbers since they clearly show the betrayal. She has Indiana fever. Not only increased attendance but also wiped out the past. Through the turnstiles, the Fever attracted over 200,000 admirers by the end of the season. Not only is that impressive, it's more than any other team has ever managed, and it changes the league. There are 200,000 seats. That isn't progress. A revolution, that is. The story didn't end there. Viewers of national broadcasts increased by 21%. Consider that. This wasn't a small step forward for a league that had pleaded for attention for decades. It was survival. Clark was a walking businessman engine. Every time she laced up, television ratings shot through the roof, arenas grew, and stuff rushed off the shelves. She wasn't only a sportsman. She served as the league's lifeblood. And this was all from a rookie who was only just beginning to reach her full potential. Now take a moment to consider how long the WNBA has been looking for this opportunity. They employed every tactic in the book for almost 3 decades. Partnerships, rebrands, and slogans didn't work. Then Caitlin Clark showed up, and all of a sudden the impossible was feasible. She made the difference between a league struggling to survive and one that was eventually flourishing. She was the golden egg-laying goose. Each and every evening. However, rather than honoring her as the gem that she was, the league chose to disparage her in the worst possible outcome for her salary. Let's expose it. Clark had a 4-year rookie contract at only $338,000. When broken down, that comes to roughly $85,000 annually. $85,000. That is less than what some tech startup middle managers get. There are fewer assistant coaches in men's basketball than most. Additionally, it is meant to be the pay for the single lady who is essentially keeping the league afloat. In black and white, it was an insult. Now think about it like the NBA. A rookie contract worth around $55 million is signed by the top overall draft pick across the hall. More than 4 years. It's not a typo. $55 million as opposed to $338,000. It's a canyon, not simply a gap. Clark wasn't getting paid too little. They were undervaluing her. Compute. Additionally, her pay was 162 times lower than that of her male counterpart. Not by 10%, not by half, but by 162 times. It's more than just a pay disparity. It's a proclamation. The world was informed that we don't value her. And there were terrible repercussions after that disdain was made public. Because a league's devaluation of its own star hints at something much worse. It lets opponents know that she's open to anything. She is not unique. She has no protection. She's simply one more novice. At that point, the disrespect jumped from the contract page to the courtroom.
Try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court. Instead of playing the game, they gotta be drama. Because they're jealous. Instead of letting their skills speak for themselves, they gotta be drama because they're jealous.
Caitlin Clark became a target almost instantly. The tiny salary, the absence of security, the league office's unambiguous message, and they jumped in. She was battered in game after game. Forceful hip checks, soaring schways, and devious off-ball hits that are intended to tire her down rather than defend. These were deliberate cheap shots, not merely fouls. They weren't engaged in any basketball games. Her ability to withstand torture was being tested. What actions did the referees take? Nothing. As if they were allergic, they swallowed their whistles. To them, the WNBA office turned its head away. With her name on the marquee, they sold out arenas with ease. They enjoyed using her face in every advertisement. However, they shrugged when it came time to safeguard the very investment that was saving their league.
I've heard nothing from the WNBA, absolutely nothing.
Brittany Griner elbowing Caitlin Clark in a crazy way and then calling her a trash white girl.
And Brittany Griner has not commented, which I find significant. I've watched that video countless times, and it sure looks like Brittany Griner says, white girl.
An unpleasant occurrence that fans are still talking about was the tipping point. Forgotten. During a game, it seemed that cameras captured Brittany Griner making an offensive remark to Clark. Like wildfire, the video went viral. Lip readers provided feedback. The fans were incensed. Nevertheless, the league took no action. No suspension, no investigation, and not even a fine. It couldn't have been more obvious. It was Caitlin Clark alone. And that message was risky since every opponent feels more confident when referees and the league fail to provide protection. Each shove becomes more difficult. Each foul becomes more soiled. The WNBA sent one of its best players into combat, devoid of armor. And everyone was aware of it. One body can only withstand so much. Bad contracts can be survived. You can put up with rudeness. The conclusion is inevitable, though, as night after night becomes an open season for your health. That date for Caitlin Clark was September 5, 2025. The news came as a shock. Due to a right groin injury, she was sidelined for the remainder of the season. The headlines attempted to portray it as a terrible turn of events or unlucky bad luck. Let's not sugarcoat it, though. This wasn't just happenstance. This was not misfortune. This was the deadline date for the bill. This was the culmination of months of indifference. The WNBA just lost everything as a result of its inability to defend Caitlin Clark.
Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it.
Remember what Caitlin Clark went through over her first 2 seasons. The hip checks, delivered with extra care. The forceful schways when she was already in the air, the sharp elbows in traffic, and the subtle but harmful off-ball shots to her hips and ribs. With each game, the penalties increased. Additionally, league executives remained silent during every game while the referees ignored the action. At last, her body broke. Not because she was weak or incapable of surviving the competition, but rather because the apparatus that was put in place to keep her safe never performed as intended. This injury was not a result of bad luck. It was the unavoidable outcome of carelessness. The WNBA didn't simply lose its biggest star at that precise moment. They made it clear to the world that they couldn't keep the one person who had rescued them safe. Irrelevant. This is where the plot changes, though. Others were observing Clark as he sat on the sidelines recovering from injuries the league had permitted to accumulate. Rival leagues, financiers, and multi-billionaire business people. They witnessed the WNBA's golden goose limping and bruised, without any protection from the organization that had made her name famous on every ticket and uniform. Additionally, these outsiders recognized her value, unlike the WNBA. Vultures weren't among them. They had a vision. Additionally, as soon as Caitlin Clark collapsed, the actual power players started to move about. They had no intention of scavenging. They were getting ready to present her with something that the WNBA wouldn't. Respect, safety, and financial support that truly reflected her worth. Ironically, her greatest leverage came from what appeared to be her lowest point. The WNBA believed that Clark had boxed in. They felt that she was shackled by her rookie contract, caught in a system that could underpay her, take advantage of her, and still make her smile, put on her shoes, and continue to bear the weight of the entire league. They were unaware that everything changed as a result of the injury. It revealed them, not made her weaker.